Hakeem Jeffries is really upset that he didn't know about the military strike against the Iranian nuclear facilities. A funny thing, though, turns out Hakeem Jeffries doesn't know because he just didn't pick up the phone. When Trump called him to tell him. Yeah, I'm not kidding. We'll get to that in just a moment, but writ large, Democrats are sort of lost in the woods here. They don't know how to react. See, all they've known for the last 10 years is everything Trump does is bad, wrong, horrible, disgusting, despicable. So you've got to oppose everything that Trump does. And in doing so, well, you've lost your ability to think and reason and actually, well, sort of recognize what might be a good policy, even if it comes from the big bad orange Hitler. Here's Nancy Pelosi, former Speaker of the House, now just a backbencher from San Francisco, who's really upset because Trump ignored the Constitution, she claims. Tonight, the president ignored the Constitution for the children. All right, I'll stop. By unilaterally engaging our military without congressional authorization, I join my colleagues in demanding answers from the administration on this operation, which endangers American lives and risks further escalation and dangerous destabilization of the region. Yeah, because we'd prefer a stable region in the Middle East where Iran is this close from getting a nuclear weapon, because nothing says stability like the mad mullahs of the theocracy in Iran, a terrorist state, having a nuclear weapon. The problem is Nancy Pelosi is super duper confused because she's a little bit at odds with this woman. This would be Nancy Pelosi from 14 years ago.
So, Madam Speaker, Madam Leader, you're saying that the president did not need authorization initially and still does not need any authorization from Congress on Libya?
Yes.
Thank you both.
Thank you all very much.
There you go. So let's just get this straight. Barack Obama, President of the United States, with Hillary Clinton as Secretary of State, authorized bombing runs against Libya, even though Libya was not developing nuclear weapons. And frankly, Muammar Gaddafi, the dictator of Libya for many decades, who was not the best guy in the world, but toward the end there was actually starting to work with the Bush administration because he was afraid of the jihadis too. Muammar Gaddafi is like, geez, these jihadis are crazy. Look at what Al-Qaeda did to America. Man, I don't want them doing that to me. Okay, I'll be your friend now. I'll help you find some jihadis. Obama gets in there. They do bombing runs for months, by the way, against Libya. Nancy Pelosi at the time says the president does not need authorization. Donald Trump does one strike against a known terrorist state who has killed Americans for decades, and it was specifically targeted at their nuclear facilities, and now she's demanding that the Trump administration give them answers because he ignored the Constitution. That's leadership. You see, you have to understand, Democrats didn't know what to do. They were caught so flat-footed because who could have seen this coming? Wait a second, we all saw this coming. We all knew this was going to happen. We've been talking about it for weeks now. And yet they still didn't have a planned, prepared, understandable, cohesive political response. Even if that political response was, listen, we would have liked to have been clued in on this, but we're really happy. Our military is great. They did a great job, and we'd like to have more information from the Trump administration, but it's a good thing for the world and our allies and our nation that Iran doesn't have a nuclear weapon. They could have said that, but they didn't. Well, and it's not entirely their fault. I mean, the leadership of the Democrat Party actually spoke out immediately when this happened. And by leaders, I mean Bernie Sanders and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Here's the leader in the Senate, Bernie Sanders. He was on his Fight Oligarchy tour when he got word live from the podium that the strike had happened.
This is a statement from Donald Trump, quote, "We have completed our very successful attack on the 3 nuclear sites in Iran," etc. I agree. And I want to tell you something. Not only is this news that I've just heard this second alarming that all of you have just heard, but it is so grossly unconstitutional. All of you know that the only entity that can take this country to war is the U.S. Congress. The president does not have the right.
There's your Democrat leader in the Senate, Bernie Sanders. You know, it's interesting. You almost saw the thought process go on behind Bernie Sanders' eyes, because he knows that Iran is a terrorist state. He knows that Iran should not be able to get a nuclear weapon. He knows that this had to be done. He's not stupid. He's just a Marxist. But he saw the crowd, the mob, chanting. He saw the tide of the room. And it could have taken courage for him to stand up and say, I understand what you're saying. I understand your anger, but this is not a new war. This is a one-off strike, and it's a good thing that our military did this. I'm sorry if I disagree with you. He could have done that, but he's weak. He's weak, and he played into the mob's hands, and he gave a trite and irresponsible and erroneous answer, because this wasn't the president of the United States leading us into war. This is the president of the United States using our military for one specific strike with a specific objective. And of course, I point you to all of the military strikes that the Obama administration engaged in without getting any congressional authorization. Bernie Sanders, of course, was in the Senate during all of those military strikes too. Okay, so there's your leader in the Senate. How about the leader in the House? Here she is, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, the leader of the Democrats in the House of Representatives. The president's disastrous decision to bomb Iran. Wait, it's a disaster for whom exactly? I mean, you listen to the language that they use, and it's clear whose side they're on. Disastrous decision to bomb Iran without authorization is a grave violation of the Constitution and congressional war powers. He has impulsively risked launching a war that may ensnare us for generations. It's absolutely and clearly grounds for impeachment. Well, it's not, but Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, on behalf of the American people, certainly on behalf of the Republican Party, and I'm pretty sure on behalf of the Trump administration, may I be the first one to say, do it. Do it. Oh, please, I beg you, do it. Draft the articles of impeachment. I want to see you, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, in your smart, very expensive business suit on the floor of the House of Representatives. Make sure all the cameras are on, because I know you like your viral moments. And I want you to tearfully read off the articles of impeachment that you are filing with the House clerk. I want you to detail to the American people how you oppose this action, and that the president of the United States should be removed from office because of it. That'd be a great thing. And please, when you're doing it, wear your I'm a Democrat t-shirt or hat or some sort of indicator. I just want to make sure everybody knows exactly what political party you're with when you do that. That'd be terrific. Do it. Do it. So there's your Senate leader. There's your House leader. By the way, right after Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez fired off that remark, she appeared to go on a date with a married man, Mahmoud Khalil, wrapped in his keffiyeh, who got released, of course, because a federal judge had to usurp the authority of the executive branch. Mahmoud Khalil, who they keep calling a Columbia student, even though he hasn't been in school for about a year now, the man who led all of the illegal protests and riots and vandalism on behalf of Hamas at Columbia University, where he petitioned that he has a newborn baby that he wants to go take care of, so you can't keep him locked up. He immediately got freed by a judge and went right to the streets of New York City and protested, screaming, globalize the Intifada, and from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free, which of course means no more state of Israel. Where's the baby? Where's the newborn baby? Why is he like flirting up and giving flowers to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez? It's pretty clear whose side she's on. So eventually, the actual leader of the House, the Democrat leader in the House, the minority leader, eventually got around to delivering a statement. And since AOC and Bernie Sanders over in the Senate had already put out their statements that this was unconstitutional and should be an impeachable offense, Hakeem Jeffries didn't have anywhere to go, really. Donald Trump promised to bring peace to the Middle East. He has failed to deliver on that promise. Funny. Some would say that keeping Iran from getting a nuclear weapon is bringing peace to the Middle East. You know who would say that? Other leaders in the Middle East. You think Saudi Arabia is upset about this today? You think the United Arab Emirates or Kuwait or Jordan or Egypt, do you think any of them are upset today because of this? Those countries and the people in those countries all woke up in a safer region the day after this attack. And everybody knows it, even Hakeem Jeffries. But Hakeem, well, he's a Democrat before anything else. And so his statement continues. The risk of war has now dramatically increased, and I pray for the safety of our troops in the region who have been put in harm's way. President Trump misled the country about his intentions, failed to seek congressional authorization for the use of military force, and risks American entanglement in a potentially disastrous war in the Middle East. First, the Trump administration bears the heavy burden of explaining to the American people why this military action was undertaken. Second, Congress must be fully and immediately briefed in a classified setting. Third, Donald Trump shoulders complete and total responsibility for any adverse consequences that flow from his unilateral military action. Well, first of all, on that last point, he knows that. We all know that because he's president and you're not. That's the whole point of being president. You have to make decisions like this, and you know that you have to shoulder the responsibility of any adverse effect. Hakeem Jeffries claimed that he was not notified in advance of this, which is customary. Customarily, the Speaker of the House and the minority leader, the majority and minority leader in the Senate are notified before there's a military action. Chuck Schumer was notified, but Hakeem Jeffries claims that he was not. Why? Well, this morning, Caroline Leavitt explained why.
We did make bipartisan calls. Thomas Massie and the Democrats, he should be a Democrat because he's more aligned with them than with the Republican Party. We're given notice. The White House made calls to congressional leadership. They were bipartisan calls. In fact, Hakeem Jeffries couldn't be reached. We tried him before the strike and he didn't pick up the phone, but he was briefed after, as well as Chuck Schumer was briefed prior to the strike. So this notion that CNN ran with at the White House did not give a heads up to Democrats is just completely false. In fact, both Senator Schumer's office and CNN had to retract that story last night because it was a blatant lie. And we showed them the timestamps from those phone calls. But I want to add something to Thomas Massie's false point. The White House was not obligated to call anyone because the president was acting within his legal authority under Article 2 of the Constitution as commander in chief of the president of the United States. We gave these calls as a courtesy, and the Democrats are lying about this because they can't talk about the truth of the success of that operation and the success of our United States military and the success of this president and this administration in doing something that past administrations, Democrats too, have only dreamed about.
All right. She's right about all of that, by the way. I said it's customary to notify the leadership in the House and Senate, but they don't have to. They're not obligated to. By the way, everybody talking about how glorious and confidential and top secret this mission was, that people didn't even know about it until it was over. Remember the head fake early in the day on Saturday? It was like, oh, these B-2s are heading to Guam. What's going on there? So they're going to stage from Guam. So everybody's watching the B-2s leave Missouri and go to Guam. Meanwhile, another fleet squadron of B-2s left Missouri as well, but instead of heading west to Guam, they headed east to their target. And not one leak from the Pentagon about this, not one leak from the White House, and not one leak from Capitol Hill. Why? Well, because I think the only Democrat that was told about this and knew about it was Chuck Schumer. Adam Schiff screaming up and down that he didn't know about it. You know, Adam Schiff, a junior, well, that's not true. He's the senior senator now. I think, no. He is the junior senator from California on the Intel Committee in the Senate. He thinks he should have been notified about this. If Adam Schiff had been notified, the real tragedy here, because Adam Schiff wasn't notified, is that Jake Tapper didn't get the leak so he could run with it on CNN while the bombers were still in the air. The reason why you don't brief people is so that it doesn't leak, and that's exactly what happened in this case. Meanwhile, I'm saying Democrat, Democrat, Democrat. I want to be honest. There's one Democrat who seems to have his head on straight. It's the one who has, well, forgive me, brain damage of some respects due to a stroke and other debilitating effects of that stroke. John Fetterman, Democrat of Pennsylvania, actually gets it, and he was confronted specifically today about what AOC said, and here's his reply.
Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez says the president shouldn't be impeached because he's impulsive. What do you think of that?
No, I mean, of course, no. She knows it. I know it. We all know it. That's not going anywhere. And, he's been impeached twice, and now he's still our president as well now, too. So it's not going anywhere, and I don't think that's helpful. And I think if you throw that term around, that actually diminishes what the severity of what impeachment is really reserved for.
Yeah, that's true. And he's right. Like I said, it's not all Democrats. Some of them get it. Did you notice one thing that he said there that actually is probably the most objectionable statement that a Democrat in Washington, D.C. could make? Did you catch it? Let me play it real fast, because it went by super fast. But it really is probably, of all that entire 30 seconds, it's the thing John Fetterman said that will drive the left most crazy.
I know it. We all know it. That's not going anywhere. And, he's been impeached twice, and now he's still our president as well now, too.
Yeah. He said he's our president. Like we're one country together, win or lose, through thick and thin, e pluribus unum. He's our president. Can you imagine Maddow and Chris Hayes and Tapper and George Stephanopoulos and all the other Democrats in the media? Our president? What? Do you think they ever refer to Trump as our president? No. America's president. The MAGA president. Never our president. One last thing. What you just saw, quite possibly, all of those Democrat responses from Hakeem Jeffries to Nancy Pelosi to AOC and Bernie, quite possibly not the craziest thing you've seen all weekend in reaction to the bombing in Iran. This is the LA County Sheriff's Office. The LA County Sheriff's Office, their spokesperson, took to Twitter, X, and put out this statement. Our hearts go out to the victims and families impacted by the recent bombings in Iran. While this tragic event occurred overseas, the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department is closely monitoring the situation alongside our local, state, and federal partners. At the moment, there are no known threats to Los Angeles County. However, out of an abundance of caution, we're increasing patrol checks in places of worship and other sensitive locations throughout the county. The safety and security of our communities remain our top priority. We will continue to assess and respond to any developments as they arise. If you see something, say something. What the hell is going on with you, LA County Sheriff's Office? If you didn't know, I should inform you. I used to live in Los Angeles. There is one of the largest, if not the largest, Persian community, defected Iranians living in Los Angeles, mostly in the city of Los Angeles and in the county of Los Angeles writ large. I think it's the largest Persian Iranian community outside of Iran. And they're all in Los Angeles because they hate the regime. Otherwise, they'd be over there, right? So who exactly are they speaking for here? Now, that was the original tweet. They deleted it or edited it and put out a different version. Here's the different version. Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department closely monitoring the situation overseas alongside our local, state, and federal partners at the moment. So basically, they cut out the whole "our hearts go out to the tragedy," and it's like they took the editorial commentary out of it. But what the hell is happening? This is the problem. Their instinct, whether it's the LA County Sheriff's Office, which is an elected office, and I believe in Democrat hands, or the people who work for their social media, the instinct, the core reflex is to be on the side of America's enemies. and speak on their behalf and give thoughts and prayers for them. And listen, I pray for our enemies too. It's a very Christian thing to do. But when you're a public official and we're engaged in a military operation and your initial statement and initial instinct is to describe the events as tragic, and that your thoughts and prayers go for the people who were developing the nuclear weapon, who were in the bunker that just got busted, you've sort of lost the plot. You're a Democrat.